As far as policing is concerned in America, it's never been about law and order and enforcing the law. It's always been about enforcing and keeping white supremacy alive. That is the only mission of your U.S. cop. He's not there for any other reason. This article came out in The Guardian, May 30th, 2020. Many of you saw the CNN reporter Omar Jimenez get arrested on live TV as he was covering the protests for police brutality in Minneapolis, Minnesota. Jimenez identifies as African American and Hispanic, and when cops confronted him, he did just what minority parents tell their kids. Jimenez cooperated, he was respectful. He said, "We can move back to where you like. We are getting out of your way. Wherever you want us, we will go." It didn't matter. The police officers put handcuffs on him and led him away, then came back to arrest his crew. Jimenez narrated his arrest as they led him away. His voice is steady, his eyes. Jimenez's mask is so his eyes were the only clue of his feelings. His eyes are perplexed and terrified. I get it. When a Black or brown person goes into police custody, you never know what's going to happen. You just know that when you leave police custody, and if you are lucky enough to leave, you will be diminished. That is the point. And he's right. It's not about the law at all. That killing of George Floyd, see, they will do those killings. It's not about a person attacked them or anything like that. It really isn't. It's about killing a person, playing that death on a 24-hour cycle to send a warning to the rest of us. It never works. But they do this anyway. They do it anyway. See, nobody has to gather under a tree anymore. They can sit in the comfort of their home and watch a Black man die around the clock. They showed this thing so many damn times it wasn't even funny. And we know why you do it. We do. Nobody's that naive that they don't understand what's going on. What's most interesting is not that Jimenez and his colleagues were released shortly thereafter without any charges filed, or even being told why they had been taken into custody. That's what class will buy a Black man in America. You don't get it quite as bad as your lower income brethren. Jeff Zucker, the CNN president, talked to Tim Walz, the governor of Minnesota, and the crew was quickly released with an apology from the governor, not the cops. The cops rarely apologize, especially to Black men. That is so true. But what's most interesting is what happened to Josh Campbell, a white CNN journalist who was in the same area as Jimenez and not arrested. Campbell said his experience was the opposite of Jimenez. The cops asked him politely to move here and there. A couple of times, they've moved closer than they would like. They asked politely to move back. They didn't pull out handcuffs. It's a cliche that the US has two systems of justice, separate and unequal. but I prefer the word Campbell used. The US has opposite system of justice, one for white people and another for racial minorities, especially African Americans, Latinx, and Native American people. White progressive love to focus on class subordination. I see you, Bernie Sanders, but there is something sticky about race. Jimenez's professional status and calm demeanor did not stop the cops from treating him like a regular black dude. The subject of their vast authority to detain and humiliate, but they didn't have an actual reason and they didn't need one. Jimenez's dark skin was the offense. This is how powerful a drug white privilege is. Here, we have cops policing a rally protesting police brutality against a black man. Even in that context, when the whole world is watching and CNN's audience is watching literally, the cops can't help themselves. They go all brutal light. They play who's the man, even when the black man like Jimenez go out of his way to show he already knows who the man is. You are officer, sir. What the cops round up are the usual suspects are always black and brown. The whole world has seen the sordid violence recorded where George Floyd narrates over 10 minutes of his own demise. Actually, there is not 10 minutes of narration because Floyd goes limp and silent after several minutes. But that does not cause former officer Chauvin to remove his knee from Floyd's neck. The officer had received a radio run to go to a local store where Floyd had allegedly tried to use a counterfeit $20 bill. Floyd is across the street from the store, chilling in his car with a couple of friends. When officers approach, like they are apprehending violent offenders. Yeah, well, they always go over the top when they're dealing with us. It's no big deal. That's how they've always been. It's been this way for centuries. They ordered Floyd and his friends out of the car, and they put Floyd immediately into handcuffs, ordered him to lie down on the ground and pin him down with their knees and hands. Floyd complained he can't breathe. A cop responds, "Well, get up and get in the car." I guess that's what you call police humor. Police asks, why would the cops treat another human being like this? And the answer must be because they can. There are rarely consequences. US cops kill about 1,000 people a year, compared with the UK, where in 10 years, law enforcement took a total of 23 lives. And well, see, that's because the ones that make laws in the land, your politicians, they allow this. They allow it, you know, and they have a history of allowing these things. Even if you go back in the time of the lynchings, this government took a position of not getting involved. And as you see, as these cops continuously kill out on the streets, your politicians take a silent position. But anytime the citizens rise up, that's when your politician will become all vocal and have everything to say. Okay. So in 10 years, the UK only killed 23 people and the US kills 1,000 a year. You know, right there, something is wrong. Okay. Since 2005, when roughly 15,000 people have been killed by US law enforcement officers, fewer than 150 have been charged with murder. So they're talking about cops. They don't charge cops. Cops are treated totally different. This is why Derek Charvin and the other three, after this murder happened, they just lost their jobs and went home. And ladies and gentlemen, I'm telling you, they lost their jobs for show. They had cops piled up at their houses protecting them from protesters. Why would you do that for a fired cop? If they're fired, that means they're no longer part of your police force. Why do you have piles of cars out there protecting them? Because, ladies and gentlemen, as soon as this thing dies down and nobody's thinking about it anymore, these cops are going to get hired again. Okay, true, the officers in George Floyd's case lost their jobs and now face or will face criminal prosecution. This is only because of the video evidence and the high profile protest. The reality is that statistically, even these cops are likely to escape conviction. Yeah, yeah, that's true. America don't like convicting cops. And when they do convict cops, they get these extra light sentences. Of the 150 officers charged with homicide in the line of duty, the majority have been found not guilty or had charges dropped. For the moment, we believe injustice is supposed to be satisfied that one cop, 4 days after the fact, has been taken into custody when there are multiple videos of that officer with his knee on the victim's neck as the man complains he can't breathe. As a black man and a former prosecutor, I had no idea it was so difficult to get arrested. US cops arrest about 12 million people a year, but not usually each other. So they'll arrest citizens, they'll gladly do that, but they don't want to arrest cops don't want to arrest other cops. They seem to have a difficulty with that, even if the cop is a murderer or have a long history of murdering multiple people. They have a hard time arresting that person. Imagine that, y'all. Mm. The talk our parents give us about how to act around armed agents of the state is designed not so much to prevent arrests as to preserve life. It worked for Omar Jimenez, but not for George Floyd. On the ground, dying, George Floyd pleads for his life respectfully, as a person can be when he asks for mercy from people who are literally crushing the life out of him. He says, "Please, officer," and calls out to his dead mother. But the police did not remove his knee from Floyd's neck. And we saw his body go limp on the ground. And they tried to insult our intelligence and make us believe that he died at the hospital. And you could clearly see he was not moving at all on that ground. He was already gone. But the police Did not remove, I read that part, and they don't even stop restraining him when his body is limp and silent. What needs to be done? Tinkering with the system makes a difference here. But it's not enough. If a white woman was thought to have tried to use a fake $20 bill, it's impossible to imagine the police storming her vehicle, ordering her and her friends out, placing her in handcuffs, and ultimately winding up, putting a knee on this white woman's death until she's dead over a counterfeit $20 bill. We know that would never happen in this country for obvious reasons. But as long as cops have that kind of power, people of color will bear the brunt. So, one simple reform would be to not allow the cops to make arrests for any nonviolent crime. It's a power they can't be trusted with because they will abuse it. In the end, that is not about law enforcement, it's about enforcing white supremacy. There's no tinkering with that. What with white supremacy being the foundation on which the country was built, the consistent big question in the quest for racial justice has been how much white supremacy is central to the identity of the US. This is what Barack Obama and okay, I'm not screwed, but man, let me just move on. I don't care about what Barack Obama said. If we had something approaching equal justice, we would still even be the United States. In order to accomplish that, we'd have to change the Constitution, which authorized much of the police violence that communities of color complain about, and the politics that exploits white anxiety about Black and brown men. What does it mean for people of color to live in a country where, for them to have a fair shot, law and government have to be transformed? They're not going to do that. Ugh. Let me tell y'all something. I've been hearing this stuff since I was a child, and they have never changed anything about the Constitution. They have never changed anything as far as how the cops conducted themselves with us. That's still the same as it was in the 60s or even beyond that. One thing you can honestly say, they don't want this to change. They don't. They don't want this to change. But see, we're at a point in time in this country where everything has to change. See, these folks want to go back to their glory days where they could be out and about and the cops can come along and bash us all in the head and all is happy with the world, right? We're not going back to that. Life in America is never going to be the same. Look, even their own experts, what they call experts, yeah, their high IQ experts even say the same thing, that life is never going to be the same in this country. So, but you see, their law enforcement is trying to hang on to the status quo for dear life. They're not going to let go of this, y'all, until it is so bad that they can't focus on us anymore. And it is getting to that point. We're getting there. We're getting here. And ultimately, as coronavirus continues to spread, because it's never stopped spreading in the US, and it started impacting heavily law enforcement officers, everything is going to have to change. Change has to be done by force. If you think these folks are going to change, it's been 5 decades and they have not changed. You'll be sitting another 5 decades and nothing will change. They are adamant about not changing this, although it will have to change. Okay. These folks are sitting at home. They're not getting up and going to work. They're not earning those inflated checks that they really technically didn't earn. And they want that. They want it back. It's not coming back. It's not coming back. It doesn't matter how many knees you put in black people's neck. Your country ain't coming back. That ain't going to bring it back. So, ladies and gentlemen, I do agree with that. This country will throw the words law and order in your face and law this and law that. They don't give a fuck about these laws. And you can tell they don't care in all of the policing that they do. Their policing show they don't care. It's very obvious. So it's not about law. No matter how much they talk about laws, it has nothing to do with laws. It really don't. You know, and how do you believe a people that don't even follow their own laws? You can't. You can't believe them. You can't trust them. Period. They can't be trusted. Ladies and gentlemen, after the blatant killing of George Floyd, you have to be insane to trust cops in this country or anything attached to cops within the legal system. You would have to be insane to put your trust in these folks ever again. And they have no right to demand that we do that either. They don't have a leg to stand on. But y'all, please tell me what you think. I do agree with this article and what it said, but that's me. Please leave your comment and subscribe. Don't forget to hit on the notification bell, and I'll see you on the next video. Peace, family.